SEO show, or Common Sense SEO show, whichever way you prefer to say it. My name's Tony Grant, and I want to welcome you to this week's show. I think it's show number 4, and today we are wrapping up our series on keywords. Now, I'm going to leave the introduction of our special guest to Henrik in a few minutes, but before I pass over to Henrik, I just want to say a few little things. We're already in February, which is a bit of a shock. So everybody who's set their New Year's goals, are you still living up to them? Are you still meeting them? Are they still there? Or is it time to refresh them? I think, you know, it's really important to keep sight of what we're out to achieve during the year, because the year really does slip away so quick. You know, it's gone before we know. For our part, I'm really excited because February is just going to be an absolutely awesome month. We've got some amazing guests lined up for you. They are in keeping with the process, with the flow that we're going through about developing your SEO knowledge. But we've got like on next week, we've got a hosting specialist who has been absolutely amazing. It's done amazing things for our business, and I think he will become a very good friend to you guys as well when you get to know him. That's next week on February the 12th. February the 19th it is. We've got another amazing guest, which is Mr. Nice Guy himself, Kyle Roof of Page Optimizer Pro fame. He'll be coming on and showing you how to get your sites moving up Google through a process called correlation. And then to blow correlation out of the water on February the 26th, it will be. I know it's a long way away by now, but it will soon be here. And on that day, we've got an absolute genius. I'm really looking forward to this one. We've got Ted Kubatis on the show. And I mean, he is Mr. Correlation, the guy who designed and invented and coded the core software. So, I mean, an absolutely amazing superstar lineup. And with that, I'm going to pass you over to the first show in this February run, and hand you over to Henrik to introduce the first guest. Oh, and sorry, he also needs to show you the way to the toilets and the exit if you need them. So, Henrik, over to you.
Thank you. I just need to check whether anybody out there can hear me and see me, because I think I have a little issue with my settings here. So could you please put into the chat if you can hear and see us? I think I have a little issue here.
Oh dear, technology at its best. It's all right, because
we're on. So
we're on. Brilliant.
That's great.
And if anybody missed my preamble, then be sure to catch it on the replay. There you go, Henrik.
Yep. So what I'd like to do is to introduce you to Matt Da Cruz from Network Empire, and he will tell us about his little keyword framework, or what he called the keyword qualification matrix. And we're really excited to have Matt on board today. And Matt, are you ready?
Yes, Hendrik, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm really ready to listen into and watch the chat whilst we are on here. So
awesome.
Get going.
Okay, guys. Hi, everyone. Guys, can you give Hendrik a 1 just to make sure you all can hear me clearly before I start? And then if I speak too fast, please just let Hendrik know so I can slow down. So what I'm going to do today, guys, is speak to you about keyword research and keywords, keyword lists. And as you can see on this picture, the big question is your website thematically relevant? So what we're going to go through today is a very simple process that I've used for many years, and I've developed my tools around, which I call the keyword qualification matrix. And what we're going to do with that is we're just going to run through the whole process and show you how we use it to get our pages to rank with minimal backlinks. It's purely because of the thematic and the contextual relevance that we create through the architecture, through the content, and through the way we use language in this whole process. Okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Matt de Cruz. I'm the CEO of Network Empire. And over the years, Network Empire has taken a lot of pride of working with some of the top guys in the industry. So we've got a lot of insights into a lot of things that are happening through specialists that specialize in certain skills in digital marketing around the world. And there's a lot of inner conversations that we're having when we talk about the technologies. I've shown Hendrik quite a few of the things that we sort of do in the background. And today I'm going to share some of the stuff with you guys. Right, so let's get basically started. I just want to set the frame at this stage here, and this is leaning towards the semantic web in a very light way, in a very simple way. And as we start the story and we run through the process to work with the framework, I want to show you how I sort of perceive the web. So everything starts with the human. The human can have many products that he creates, and he can be an inventor of many things, and he can be associated with many things. He can have multiple businesses. He can have a social presence that's split into his personal presence, his family life, and all the stuff that he publishes online, versus his professional presence online, which is social, which can be tied to multiple pages and multiple social properties associated with the businesses that he is tied to. Then we've got the machine world. And the goal of the machine world is to try and understand the context of what is published online. The next thing is to assess and verify the authority of the sources for the content that's trying to get ranked, okay? Now, typically, we're looking at people that publish knowledge, how to do stuff, products, what they're selling, and also services. These are the things that guys sell online. So when we look at this whole process, basically the goal of the AI, the machine, is to deliver what it believes is most relevant to the questions being asked at that point in time. And that's why I say what the machine believes. And this is going to start leading us into keywords, because the way we choose our words and the way we position things as we're looking at the funnels determines how the machines understand what we're saying as we're going through the process. And they can actually extract the content, they can extract the different meanings of the words, and they can also extract the sentiment of that actual content. And depending on how it leans and scales, this helps us get more traffic or less traffic, because if the search engines don't understand what we're talking about, there's not a clear context, we'll get a skewed traffic stream that comes toward us when it's presenting the information to that audience. Does that make sense? Can you guys give me a 1 if you guys get that concept of how the semantic web is being tied to the search now? So what it basically boils down to is the people that are verified and authorized and are authorities online, they've got a presence online that the search engine is aware of, that have been verified. They're going to give you a bit more love than people that are just publishing stuff and not really connecting it to an entity, to a human. Can you give me a 1 if that makes sense?
It makes sense.
Sorry, just having a sip of water. Okay, so when we talk about site architecture, all the years people have spoken about different ways of building websites. And when we look at the context of this page, we've got the index page. We've then got the pages that are underneath it, the tier 1s, the silos, whatever guys like to call them. Then we have our categories that are segmented into the actual silo page. And then obviously underneath it, we can have posts. And what that's giving us is a hierarchy of language. If we look at the stack of information, the home page, the index, is about a specific theme. The silo page is about a specific topic. That topic split up into categories, and those categories can be split up into small pieces of content that reinforce that idea or that service or that product that the people are trying to sell. So when we're taking this into account, the biggest question I've been asked over the years as I've trained lots of companies and worked with a lot of people was, what keywords do I choose? Where do I start drilling? How do I start doing market analysis? And basically it always begins with what he's selling now. So once we understand what is that thing, that object, that type, then it becomes much easier for us to actually start focusing on it and constructing the stuff. So in the keyword qualification matrix that I'm going to show you now, I'm just going to show you the method that I go through and how I classify certain parts of a keyword structure or a phrase, and how I use a little system to adjust this, which gives me keyword variance, and it also helps me create a much stronger contextual relevance when I actually look at the site's theme as well as the site as a whole, the entire site. So when we jump to keyword qualification matrix, what you'll see here is we start off with working with keywords. We started to create topical and contextual relevance for the page we're working on and for the site. So what I've done here is I've broken it into 4 parts. We've got descriptions, types, purchase intent, and location. And for each one, I've given it a number. So 1 is description, 2 is type, 3 is purchase intent, 4 is location. What this allows me to do is to start actually using those numbers in combinations to create different stems, keyword stems, or different variants of a keyword phrase, right? So let's look a bit deeper into this. When I drop into the description, basically the rule for description is this is the thing that specifies, searches specify what they're looking for, okay? So if they've got money, they will use, in their language, they'll use words like best, limited, luxury, world-class, spacious, waterfront, exclusive, VIP. That person that's from a certain bracket will be looking for a certain type of thing. So in number 1, the description or descriptor, we can start defining who is this person that we're trying to look for. So if they don't have money, they'll be using things like cheap, first home, small, free, discount, hacked, torrent. The language changes, which changes also the sentiment, it changes the intent. Okay, so that's the descriptor. Now, when we talk about keyword lists and keyword tools that typically give us keywords, I basically classify all those outputs as type keywords. These keywords that are between words 1 to 4 typically give us markets, market segments, or themes. And these type keywords, I like to look at them as defining a specific object that the entity, the human, the person wants. Can you give me one if that makes sense so far? So we've got the descriptor, which defines the buyer's intent or defines the type of object, like the adjective of the object, and the type basically determines what that thing is. Can you give me one if that's clear? The guy's following along so far. Okay, so the next step is basically we're going to jump into the third one, which is our purchase intent. And this is where the searcher specifies what type of transaction they're looking to do. So do they want to buy? Do they want to hire? What is the thing they want to do? So you can see for each of these classifiers, we can essentially start binding certain types of words or languages or adjectives or nouns to determine what we want to do. So if a person wants to buy something, you'll use words like for sale or purchase. If he wants to hire, it'll be rent or rent, which changes the intent. So it's all about the intent when we're looking at number 3 and how they want to transact. The next thing is for the location. And this typically is going down to local SEO, where we're specifying specific places where people can get the number 2, the type, the object. Okay, so searchers can specify locations, countries, states, zip codes, towns. They can say in New York, in the Caribbean. They can use a suburb of New York. You get the idea. So between these 4 modifiers or these classifiers, we can start constructing our keywords to target specific audiences that we want to speak to. Now, it gets really fun when we look at this, because when we zoom out and we look at the whole keyword classification method, we're essentially looking at cold traffic, warmer traffic, hot traffic, and depending on the type of traffic, we can basically see different locations. We can use these variants within our website structure. So I'm just going to walk you through these quickly, and then you'll see how it all works. So the rule is basically there's 4 classifications for keyword. We describe, we define the type of the object, what is the purchase intent, and where can we buy this thing. So this goes down to more of a psychological selling method, where a person, when you buy something, typically will say, what are you selling? The next thing will be is, why should I believe you? The third thing is going to be, how do I get this? And then the very last thing is going to talk about his price. How do I buy this thing? So when we keep those 2 ideas in our heads and we start looking at keyword lists and working with keyword tools, it allows us to start thinking about the sales funnel and how we use certain keywords throughout our structure more effectively. So the next thing we're going to jump into is basically cold traffic. Now, these are type 2 keywords. You can see I've got apartments with the number 2 next to it. As we go through the next few phases, we'll basically use the number to classify what classifier we used. So on cold traffic, when we're building out our sites, typically what we can do, sorry guys, I just want to quit Skype quickly. Get that out the way. I'll start again. Basically, what happens is when we work with cold traffic, we tend to be in markets. This is where we got single words or 1 to 2 letter words. And these are markets where we can find lots of market segments, and we can actually drill down and look deeper into the market to map out exactly what's going on. These type 2 keywords are great for your architecture. So essentially when you put in your domain in your URL, and they're great for anchor text. Okay, so if you want to link back to your site, it's good to use these type 2 keywords where they're 1 or 2 phrases with lots of traffic and a high relevance to the actual theme keyword you want to rank for. These keywords are great to use in that part of the architecture. And that's typically where the cold traffic is. There's a lot of people that don't know about you. It's just a broader traffic sense. Give me one if that makes sense. Okay. The next thing is, as we start getting a bit more focused, we can use the descriptor and the type, or we can use the type and the buying intent, or we can use the type and the location. These type of keyword combinations are typically focused on market segments, which are 2 to 3 word phrases. Okay, and where we use these phrases is typically also in the architecture and in the category URL or the silo. So it's in the top levels of the site. We can use these phrases. As we're getting more focused and the phrases get longer, the traffic will start warming up because you're getting closer to where these buyers are. So when we look at the combinations of these phrases, we can use 2, 3, and 4. And that's basically your type keyword, your buyer's intent, and your location. And that gives us keywords like New York apartments for sale, buy New York apartments online, apartments for sale in New York. So you can see how when we start looking at these theme level keywords, which are 3 to 4 phrases, we can start really focusing on them and create combinations that make it much better for us. Another example of that, New York waterfront apartments, that's using a descriptor 1. Waterfront 2 is the object, and then number 4 is the apartments. Luxury apartments in New York. So that's luxury is number 1, the descriptor. 2 is apartments in New York is using a location comparison. So you guys get to see how we're basically using this, and we're including different types of modifiers into this to create much more focused sentence structure, especially when we start writing our content. The last thing we're going to do is basically look at the last combination, and this is where we are using world-class apartments for sale for over $1 million. And that's using combinations 1, 2, and 3 of the keyword qualification matrix. So guys, you basically get to see how this all works. And then obviously, when we get to the hard traffic, this is where you're looking at qualified keywords that contain all the modifiers, all the classifiers. We essentially have world-class New York apartments for sale. There we've used combinations of 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can say buy waterfront apartments in New York, exclusive New York apartments for sale. And by doing this, you can notice that the actual phrase that we used, we've introduced a lot more modifiers into this. So when you look at your document as a whole, URLs, all the objects that actually make up that web page. When we use the keyword qualification matrix, it allows us to create rich content that is giving us different variations of thematically relevant keywords, but it's giving us a stronger contextual relevance for the keyword we're trying to rank for. Okay, so that's basically the keyword qualification matrix in a nutshell. Let me go back on. So why did we do this? Why did I do it this way? And now I'm going to switch us from humans to the machine world. When we use the keyword qualification for the humans, we're basically speaking to the emotions. We're speaking to that person, we're speaking to the pain, and we're leading them to solution, which then creates the transaction. However, in the machine world, we can't just stuff keywords into pages or use keyword density to just basically think we're going to get results. We need to start looking at the contextual relationship between the document and what the machine actually understands. So when we start looking deeper into how machines and AI read content, you can sort of see by this one, we're looking at entities, we're looking at sentiment, we're looking at the syntax structure of the sentences, and we're also looking at the categories. What So we've got digital marketing, framework, tools, marketers, skills, webinar, familiar with digital marketing, toolbox and growth framework, insights, digital marketing bootcamp. These are all the words it's basically picked up on that are important. And the gray are the words that have basically just filtered out. Can you see how the machine's actually starting to analyze what we're saying? So then what it does, it takes us back and it looks at the sentiment. And it shows us, okay, cool, I believe that this conversation is scored sentence by sentence. And yeah, we can see. So when we go vague, yeah, stuff you need to do, it's vague. It's got a lower sentiment. It actually scores it negative because it doesn't understand what this means, or the sentence structure is leaning more towards a negative connotation. So as we're using the language and we're using our keyword qualifications and we actually measure the sentiment of our content that we've written, we can adjust the sentiment to speak much more clearly to the human and the machine. So a lot of guys, when this stuff's not ranking well, they get frustrated and it's, oh, the algorithm's not letting me do it. It's not because computer says no. Okay, guys, it's about ambiguous content. The content's not clear, and the search engines, when they're actually looking at your content, they don't actually understand the sentence structure. So when we use the keyword qualification matrix and we actually construct the sentences to speak to the actual intent of the person who's buying or looking for that product or service, that disambiguates the content and gives us a much clearer sentence structure throughout the content, which helps us then tell the search engines this is what we're trying to do. So just to close this off, guys, on this presentation, content classification is extremely important, because when you do it right and you start crafting your content using the right keyword stems within the content, it helps the machine understand what you are, and it gives you a confidence level score for that actual content. So as we move into 2019 and we're moving forward with digital marketing and SEO, when you start doing your keyword research and your market analysis before you start building your site, becoming aware of how you classify your content instead of your keywords, and you're switching from a keyword mentality into a content creation mentality where you're speaking to a specific audience, it becomes much easier to rank because you're using a much richer language than typically what keyword tools will give you. Remember, keyword tools spit out type 2 keywords. They don't give you the context. However, when you start using keyword qualification metrics, you create the context to speak to your audience, which then gives you contextual relevance, which is much higher and easier for the machine to understand what you're trying to achieve. And that's basically my session for today, guys. I'd love to have your thoughts, your questions, clarify anything you'd like to know. I'm there. That's it, Hendrik. Basically, that's what I do with my keyword classification for any market I go into. I break it down from that perspective.
That's cool, Matt. I think I lost the connection in just 30 seconds time and came back on. So I don't know whether the audience did hear it all, but let's try to look what's being said. Michael says, very intriguing. Any questions, guys, out there? Well,
what I'll do, Hendrik, I will pass the slide deck onto you so you can actually have a copy of the slide deck.
Yeah, that would be super.
And then you can just link it in there for the guys.
But generally, Matt, when we are doing this keyword analysis, it is something that takes an awful lot of time to get your overview and get an idea that you have developed a new little tool that will do the heavy lifting, if to say, for the people who are doing. And maybe you can get like we can get a little sneak peek view to what you're been doing.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Let me show this up here quickly. What I've worked on in the last 8 months is I've developed a tool, Digital Marketers Toolbox, and the keyword qualification matrix is at the heart of the actual tool. I want to know what is the language that's actually making money online? What are the words that are being used? What is the content that is actually creating the traffic? And how are these guys basically doing what they're doing to become authority sites. So beginning with Network Empire, we've created a lot of tools over the years. We've created Kraken, we've created killer keyword tools. We were the first guys to start talking about silo architecture once we went through Bruce Clay's training and stuff. We've been talking about technical design for many years. So what I did in Network Empire was I coached a lot of the guys through the technical builds and the technical frameworks, and I could see where the guys were getting stuck. And it's true what you say. It becomes very hard, especially if you're new to the game. So what I've done with Digital Marketers Toolbox is I've changed the way we actually analyze things, and I've created procedural routines that run in the tool that actually bring back the most important keywords that actually drive traffic to websites. And we can get to see it from a very interesting way. And the way it works is super simple. And basically, like I said, you start with the human. Who's this company? Who's the person that's working this company? Where is this company found? What's the geographical location? What's the social properties? We basically bind that to the property, because for the semantic web, we need to make those associations. Once we jump into that, we essentially can go in and pretend or look at any website that we want. So I basically flagged Neil Patel as my website as the primary site I want to basically reverse engineer. And then I've added market competitors. And what this does, it very quickly shows me the battlefield. I get to see how strong they are, how many keywords they're ranking for, how much traffic they're getting, how much organic rank value their traffic actually has, and who's using PPC. And I get to see this in literally 5 minutes. So before, when we did competitive analysis or any kind of form of analysis, whether it's local SEO, we had to go do a lot of keyword research and all that kind of stuff. Now, with this method and this tool that I built now, it's literally in minutes. We don't have to. As we look at domains, we come back in and we get to see an overview of that actual domain very, very quickly. Where's the traffic? Where's the missed opportunities? As we add the domains, it allows us to see the market as a whole. We get the semantic cluster. And I can look at all the keywords across all these domains at once and quickly see where the traffic flows in the market, what pages are driving this traffic, what funnels are set up, where the opportunities. With this information, I basically extract all the top backlinks and the top questions out of the market. And for any product that I add, I can basically add my funnel. When I add my funnel with my conversion settings, I essentially can look at how many keywords are being, or questions are being asked in the market. So over here, we've got 483 questions in this theme that we're actually looking at, that people are competing in, and you can see them. Yeah. They're basically the keywords. So what's great about the tool is in minutes, I could essentially sit with the client on the phone and talk to him about his website in real time, pull back this information while we're having a conversation, see where he's strong, see where the missed opportunities are, see how he's performing compared to his competitors, and then determine whether the strategy should be getting more rankings or optimizing what he has already. So it helps us as digital marketers to think very carefully about how we're going to enter the battle, how we're going to engage to find the traffic, and then more importantly, what are the most important words within this market that we're using. And what it does is it gives me a nice opportunity to basically jump in for adding products. So I'll log into another account quickly here and just show you a local type of business. Where we essentially have a primary site and a competitor. And when we jump into the actual profile and we get into the market analysis, we can see the lay of the land. We can see that this site's got more keywords than this one. It changes the whole game. We can see he's doing PPC, and then it allows us to basically go look at all these keywords. So we can see the keywords. We can see all the competitors, what keywords are common amongst these guys, where the money's flowing, thematically relevant competitors, how much money is getting made in the market. It's got a lot of rich data that's perfect for market analysis. So it's not a matter of compiling thousands of spreadsheets anymore. Everything's there for us. So if we want to do display ads, we can essentially look at the organic competitors and identify them, and then feed those URLs to the display ads. We can give those URLs to Facebook, and we can say, okay, create me an audience from this. We know the keywords that are associated to that page. So when we look at the products, essentially what we did was we took Kraken, we pushed into market research, we did killer keywords, we've injected into here, and we built out our architecture over here. Within this theme, we essentially can see any of these keywords. They all got their custom funnels set for them. We can look at the theme. through trends, what are the important themes, what are the important theme keywords, who the top competitors are for that specific URL. So in a matter of filling in 2 or 3 forms, it extracts the whole market for us and gives us all the information that we need. So in this local market, we can see the top pages. We can rotate through those pages and see what keywords they're ranking for. So you can see this guy's totally smashing the market in comparison to his competitors that are ranking for it. And then we can see the ontology. What are the words that are important? What are the words that are used the most within this? And then more importantly, what are the top videos that are ranking for that specific keyword, and who's getting the traffic and how the page and site looks. So what Diggity does, it gives us all this information really fast, and then by the time we add the stuff and we come back, it exports everything out for us, all prepped and ready in CSV. So it doesn't matter. Just want to quickly show all the exports we have here. It doesn't really matter which market we attack. The way the procedures are written and right, it basically pulls the pants down of your competitors and shows you everything that they have that's working, which is great about it. So the guys that have been using this, they're saying it's saving them hours and hours of time, where they basically just go in, they add the competitors, they add the products that the guys are selling, they set up their sales funnel conversions, boom, everything is done for the guys, and it gives them all the information they need back. It's very, very, I love the tool. I use it all the time now. It's saved us hours. And what we're tending to do now more and more with this is we're actually sitting on a webinar. We're speaking to the client that we're pitching for, and we're actually showing the information within the tool and discussing the key things he needs to do. Through the webinar, we're sending that to client, and then they're coming back and they're signing it up that way around. So it's an interesting new process. It's giving us the ability to talk to them in real time, looking at their website and the competitors' websites. And when we jump into the actual live call with the customer, the conversation is very, very rich. So what we've done at Diggity is we've created a linear process that filters out all the noise. I don't care if they're ranking for 25,000 keywords. What I want to understand is what are the core ideas, the core keywords that helps me create the keyword qualification matrix combinations that's going to help me dominate the market. So that's sort of the idea and what's driving Diggity. We're using intelligence. We're getting the best keywords. We know what's working on all the competitors we add. We're getting all the theme keywords. We can see which keywords potentially make us money based on our funnels. It's a great tool.
It's cool. So you can actually, I saw there was an export possibility to export your silos out of the tool. Is that correct?
Yes. So what you'll see is by domain, organic and paid, we can actually extract these. We can push these to Facebook, to Google. We can use tools like Frank.ai once we've identified who the competitors are that are actually giving us ads. And we can say, push our ads into these places and create audiences from people who visit these sites. It just simplifies everything for us. Paid competitors, we can see what they're paying, and then we can look at what their ads are. Once we identify who they are, using tools like WordStream and those other things, SEMrush. The domain rank keywords, these are all the keywords that this actual domain is ranking for. So it helps us reverse engineer. So coming down to your question, we can actually export out the ROI, all the theme keywords, all the ranked backlink URLs, the top videos, the top questions. We can actually have the RIS stacks or the Google Drive stacks. You can get all those keywords and push them in there. So for your local tool that you've bought, Hendrik, if you take those words that are important, you bind your local modifiers onto them using the location, which is number 4, you can have a very thematically relevant subset of keywords to use that's geographically targeted to that specific project you're working on for your Google My Business. So it just makes it super easy because we just run it, grab the keywords, shove it in, and then obviously over here, you can export out all your funnel settings. You can export out a CSV of your silos or your categories, which you can then pass into your writers. And then obviously if you're using the video silo builder, you can export your XML, which will then import into WordPress and create the whole entire URL structure, the titles, and the H1 tags for you automatically.
Cool. Very cool. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. Jeff and I have basically taken, well, Jeff and I have been talking about this. This is Jeff from SEO Design Solutions. we've been speaking about, we called it the brain for about 7 years. And this is essentially the intelligence that sits behind it is the brain. And this is the outputs that come back that help us just do our job fast. We don't have to go sit and scratch and filter. We just go and grab and get what we need and then use it as we go through the process.
Michael has a question. What is the learning curve for learning this tool?
Super easy. Basically what you do is, the way it's built is a profile. That's the human. Who is the person who controls this entity? Okay, that's just for the semantic web. So we basically can add the contact details and the business name. For now, to start the project, we can create it. Within a profile, we can have multiple projects. And for each project that we add, this can either be for your one website and your competitors to do the competitive market analysis. Or you can basically, if you've got multiple sites, you might have an e-commerce store, a blog, and a wiki, and a money site about the company. You can add those 4 and look at them, how they compete against each other and what they're ranking for. So that helps us sculpting things. The way to do that is simple. You basically take your profile, you select it, you put in the URL with no trading slash, select your search engine, define what it is, and then press submit. And that'll basically go off and do the draw. Then when you come back and the draw's done, if you have any products, what you can basically do then is add those products. So if we look at this one here, there's a more done for a reverse engineer. In the Neil Patel, when I'm in that profile, the only other form you really fill in is your product. So you'd put in the product name, select the search engine. We say 2 keywords max. The reason for that is we're going to look at market segments or markets and pull all the keywords back from that entire stack for that specific theme that we're looking in. So if we look at digital marketing tools over here, we can sort of see that we drilled into digital market. All we did there was we filled in the keyword, defined a Google My Business category if it's local, and then we add the currency, the price, the profit per sale, how many times that thing sold, are there any trials, and then we create a range for our click-through rates. We add how much percentage we believe the guys will click on our buy button when they land on our page, how many guys will contact us through the phone, and how many guys will contact us or opt in. We put all this information in there, press submit, and it comes back and it has drilled out all the information. To create a project takes 3 minutes. To create a product, which is basically drilling into a theme, takes literally 7 or 8 minutes to do. So for this project where I've come in and I've reverse engineered this stuff here, all the digital marketing giants, this is taking me 30 minutes to add all these things and those 2 products I've added. And it's giving me a mountain of information, super rich. And it's all the best keywords in the actual market. So that's essentially the learning curve. So then what you do is, if you're building your sites, the story becomes much, much easier to work with. All we do is we start at the top, we add our competitors, we do our market research. It's already done for us. That's all drilled out. It does the whole routine for you. We add the products that we want to sell. We map out our websites. We export it. We import it into WordPress. The entire structure is actually mapped out for us automatically. So on the website architecture, when we come to build this out, what you can see, I've added 2 keywords. Now, depending on what product I'm adding, I set my funnel. And whatever keywords I select, I can basically add them. I can see where the money flows. I can say whether I'm going to be doing PPC, display, or video. This basically helps me define what's happening in the blueprints and what work I'm going to be doing where. And I can set my slug, my page title, and my H1. So when we export this XML out, the entire funnel's there. Plus, I've got a record of what my potential ROI will be. And it shows me that. The same applies for the categories. Once I select my funnel, which I've done over there, it unlocks this. When I choose the parent keyword, it unlocks the grid. And what it allows us to do is essentially either choose to look at all the competing websites or to choose the specific product. So I can go to product cluster and it'll only show me the keywords that are from digital marketing. So there's all my digital marketing keywords. If I wanted to look at the other one, which was Uber Suggest, which was keyword tool, and I set the product, my funnel changes and all the ROI changes. I can actually see all those keywords that came back for that specific drill. So it becomes very rich, and it really helps us a lot. And if we want to actually look at what's ranking at that point in time, we can click on that link, and it takes us to the page, and we can see what's been said on that page. We can actually extract things, tweak things as we're going along. So the process is very simple. Create a project, add your competitors, do your market analysis, understand the market, understand the keywords, understand the stuff, think about the keyword qualification matrix, extract the questions, map out your website, import it, and then pass it on to the content writers. It gives you a ton of information. You export, so if you're selling digital marketing blueprints, you have everything prepped and ready for you. And what we do for the guys that are doing the blueprints on the dashboard, we've given you all of the templates that you can use for beginners. I'll just open a few to show you what happens. If you're starting off, questions you can ask yourself as you map out the market. So you can see I've got a dummy here that I've done. What the heck are you selling? It gives you 13 pages of things you can consider when you're mapping out products for your clients, questions you can ask them about demographics, creating audiences. You've got your process mapped out of things you do at different stages. You can log your times. A proposal template for your client. You can come in and define what you want to sell to the guys. You can copy and paste. What the guys are doing is they're copying and pasting screenshots into this from DMT. And then they're saying to the customer, okay, these are the things we're going to do for you at different stages. And then the implementation plan. It basically is a document you can take and modify with how everything basically works. So yeah, with the DMT bundle, it basically gives you a lot of access to all the stuff in a very linear process. It's not jumping backwards and forwards. The tool drives the production of your website, essentially. Does that answer your question? Sorry, I just wanted to be pretty thorough there.
No, I think that's cool. I'm still trying to put up my doors because they collapsed. I think it's a really, really cool tool. And let me see. Can you see the benefit of using such a tool, Michael? Yes, sir, he says.
Yeah. So it's an awesome tool. You can see sort of, yeah, we basically look at multiple markets, whatever market we go into, it just unlocks absolutely everything. So if we drop into this website here, as we're coming in, you can imagine if you've written a project and you speak to a client on the phone, you fill in one form within 3 or 4 minutes of that call, you can actually look at what he's talking about. You can see how much keywords he has, what's he doing on paid. You can see the top keywords, the missed opportunities. If he got ranked for macro calculators in position 3, you'll get a higher percentage of that 74,000 searches a month, which means it'll have a direct impact on his ROI if his funnel plans out like we've mapped it out. And it's a very intuitive. It cuts through all the noise. I don't care if they rank it for 13,000 keywords. What keywords are important to help him get all those variants to come into his website? That's the important question. And that's what the content classification helps us achieve. All those stems.
So if you produce a blueprint for your clients, you can actually sell that to the client for big bucks, can't you?
Yes. It's business online is no different from business offline. And if you don't actually create a plan or some form of measurable tasks that you can execute and bind it to some form of transactional end result, then you're wasting a lot of time, because you're not going to be able to clearly build your website to speak to the audience that actually wants to buy your product. It doesn't help throwing 1,000 keywords into a website and creating this huge structure when your audience only uses a specific thing. So when Jeff and I were looking at this market, what was quite interesting when we jumped into the questions here was, into the market semantic cluster, and I just filtered this by calculator. And I just opened up all the keywords. What it essentially did for us was it exposed that there were close to 158 calculators. And the way I got to that information was I went to products. Let's refresh the page so I can pull in the products. When we go to the actual macro calculator, and I come to my keyword manager over here. And I just type in calculator here. Basically show me 158 keywords that contain calculator. And if you look through this very carefully, especially from a semantic point of view, you could essentially create a page on the site for each of those different calculators, or group them and create the different calculators and tap into massive amounts of traffic, because it's extremely non-competitive, long-tail keywords. But each one has a specific use to a specific type of audience. So if this guy was building a site, what we were suggesting to the guys, maybe consider segmenting those audiences and grouping the calculators that they need, because he's got a domain authority of 50. And if he does that and gives a little description about it and tags it properly, he's going to get a boatload of more traffic instantly, just by changing and using words that are important to the people that are looking for that type of information. Does that make sense?
It's super. It's really super.
So it helps us to really think about the market from a marketing perspective and not get stuck in the technical where our heads are. There's 5,000 searches here. It's not about that. It's about the contextual relevance and getting the connections between, put the building blocks in of what words are going to bring the people at what stage of your funnel to achieve your same thing. So for lost leaders and bringing guys in, these calculators, there's tons here. Food, macro. There's tons of opportunities on this. And in the exports, it was even richer as we actually focused in on it. So this is how we sort of use DMT to give us deeper insights fast, so we can actually work with our clients more effectively.
Cool, Matt. I'm glad you took the time to show us this awesome tool, and I will drop a link in the chat box so the people can go and take a look at it if they like. So
sure,
thank you very much. This was really awesome, Matt, and I appreciate very much you took the time to come on. And any questions out there that you want to ask Matt whilst he's here?
No, thank you, Hendrik. And it's only a pleasure to share the information that you've been in and out of my community for years as well. So I'm happy to share this knowledge with your crew.
Thank you very much. Any questions out there? Except from that's bloody awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks. Well, thank you very much, guys. We have gone for nearly an hour now, and we normally just go for 30 minutes. So
I do apologize for taking your time, guys.
No.
But I hope that methods helped you guys really simplify the way you think about keywords, because it's not about the search volume is an indicator. It's not the law of God. It's just an indicator, and it's the intent and understanding how we construct those little shingles together that helps us achieve and get more reach online, especially when we're broadcasting and using the tools that Hendrik's created with Google My Business and all those kind of things. Putting those right words in the right places has a massive effect.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Matt. And I don't think there's more questions out there. So thank you very much for your time. And we're looking forward to abuse your new tool.
No, thank you, guys. It's only a pleasure. And thank you for having me. It was great to hang out with you guys.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you next week again to a new awesome show. Thank you very much, and take care out there.